So my name's Toni-Ann. I'm one of the nurses that works at Conifer House. I'm working in the outreach team, so I'm well known to the colleges across both sites. I look after 19 and under, or anybody vulnerable. So basically, I can come to you if you can't come to me, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So obviously some of the students will have seen you around the college, but if you just want to sort of explain what services you offer young people and how they sort of access that support with yourself.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm working in sexual health. So I come along to the college and I do a prevention talk, which is a PowerPoint, which I'm sure some of your students may or may not have seen. It's the one with the ugly pictures. And the idea is to let young people see the kinds of things that I'm seeing every single day in young people that have made bad choices really when it comes to sexual health, and either they've not seen the PowerPoint, so we have to give them a bit of leeway for that, or they just don't know the risks. So hopefully by me coming and showing them what could happen and what to do if it does happen, we all know what we're doing. And that's followed up by Hayley and Dion with the mobile unit, who are in colleges every week, just sat waiting for people to access if they're worried about anything, if they want screening for anything, if they want contraception or condoms.
Okay. And like you said, that drop-in service is available at all of our sites. They are we are in the process of setting up a date for our St James site, so anyone that's listening from St James can sort of keep a lookout, and they'll be with you quite soon, hopefully.
Yeah, definitely.
So something that I really wanted to discuss in sort of this episode was like, why do you think there's still such a stigma around sex and sexual health, and why do you think young people sort of do make those bad choices in regards to their own sexual health? Because young people are quite good at looking after the physical health. You know, if they've got something that's wrong with them in regards to like a cold or anything, or you know, they're quite happy to go to see a doctor. But why do you think there's that stigma around sexual health?
I think it's evolved really. I think there was a massive stigma years and years ago about somebody having a sexually transmitted infection. It was quite shameful.
Yeah.
But because we've got these new infections like chlamydia, young people won't know if they've got them. So it's really important that they get tested, because potentially these infections can affect the rest of their lives. And chlamydia we can get rid of. And currently we're living in a culture where people are quite happy to swab themselves for coronavirus. It's no big deal. They want to know if they've got it, and if they've got it, they want to know how to get rid of it. And it's exactly the same with your sexual health, all for the sake of doing a swab for the girls and a pee in a pot for the lads. So I think the stigma's evolved, but what they've got to remember, and what they might remember from the PowerPoint, is you don't have to have full sex to get a sexually transmitted infection.
Yeah.
So there's nothing shameful about that. It's just knowing the risks. And chlamydia is getting really crafty, so it's just being careful.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is so easy, isn't it? I mean, I know when I was at college, it was always like you had to, you did worry about obviously going to see the sexual health nurse and things like that, but you did literally, it's so easy for you to do yourself, you know, isn't it? It's like they give you, you know, this swab and you can go do that yourself. It's not a case of you having to go to like a doctor's surgery and, you know, like it's not like a smear test or anything like that, is it? Where it's quite an uncomfortable sort of situation for your first time, especially, even though smear tests have again is another thing that just people blown out proportion whatsoever, because I know that I've been for two now, and you don't even notice that you're there really. But yeah, it's so easy to just do yourself, isn't it? Again, for both males and females. So it's definitely something that everyone that should just get involved with and make part of the, you know, the routine, and just every sort of, how often do you sort of say that you should get tested, Toni-Ann?
So you're right, it's not an evasive test, you do it yourself, so you've got a choice. So you just bob to the toilet and do it yourself. This is not a once only test.
Yeah.
You don't do it and that's it. You've got to keep doing it. So if you are in a long-term relationship, every 6 months, or every time you change your sexual partner.
Right. Okay. Because that's obviously just something that, you know, I didn't know sort of whether there was a, you know, if you was with someone for like a long period of time, would you, obviously if you've got tested with that person, you don't need to go for a test again.
I would definitely do a test every 6 months.
Every 6 months. Okay.
Trust is a wonderful thing, but we're
Yeah.
picking the pieces of that every single day.
Yeah.
And yes, your partner might not have slept with anybody before they got with you. That might absolutely be the truth. But we've got to remember that chlamydia lives on fingers, tongues, and condoms.
Yeah.
So, you know, not even if you're not having full sex, or if your boyfriend or girlfriend's not slept with anybody, but they've been having a bit of foreplay with somebody that has, then they've accidentally infected themselves and now they're infecting you.
Yeah.
And we all know what can happen if you're walking around with chlamydia and you don't even know. This will affect your fertility.
Doing the job, obviously, that I do, I've noticed over the last few years that young people talk quite explicitly about sex and the relationships that they've got, and what they're getting up to sort of at the weekend. Do you think there's a reason behind this, sort of a shift in language? Because I know that when I was at college, so 10 years ago, no one really talked about sex. You know, we knew that, you know, people were doing it, and some people were and some people weren't, but you never went to your friends and sat on, you know, around the dinner table or out on the park or whatever and started telling them what you was doing. So I just wanted to obviously ask someone that, you know, deals with young people on a daily basis like I do. Do you think there's a reason for that sort of shift in attitude?
I think it's a good thing that we've got that platform where people can speak openly. And when I'm one-to-one with a young person, it's fantastic that they trust me with that information, because it is confidential. So that is a good thing. But what I think we need to remember is we've done away with junior high schools. So we've got young people coming straight from primary, straight into senior school and trying to fit in. And we've got a massive problem there, because in that pubescent stage, when you're trying to decide who you are and who you fancy, people are being pressured into getting into relationships too early and too soon. So what they're doing then is they're talking about it because they're very unsure.
Yeah.
And most of the time they're not ready. They're not ready mentally, emotionally, or physically.
No, and do you think that something that from like what I've heard, and I'm quite open about sort of lots of things in my life, but I just think I think personally that, like, you know, we're not doing as much sort of sex education in sort of high schools, and I know that there's been that taboo for a long time. When I was at high school, it was the same. We had like one sex education lesson in the term, and it was like, well, the teacher stood there really uncomfortably at the front of the class and was like, well, this is a condom, and then it sort of went, everyone started being disruptive, and it just never happened. So you never got into it. So you went and sort of found out yourself. And for me, I think a lot of young people now are watching porn and learning about sex from that, which for me is a really unrealistic way of learning about sex, because sex isn't like that in real life at all, really. I mean, in some cases possibly it might be, but I know from my experience it's nothing like anything that you see on the internet. So I just think that it worries me that that's where young people are finding their information in regards to sex and relationships.
Well, it's been recognised that this is now a problem. Young people sending indecent images over Snapchat and thinking nobody will see them. The police are getting involved with them now. And it's been recognised by the government, but that actually young people do need this talk. So that's going to be rolled out, and it's going to be absolutely part of the curriculum. So I am now getting back into high schools and delivering this talk, because like you say, Jodie, young people will not take a teacher seriously that they're seeing day in, day out, saying the word vagina or penis. It's just hysterical. So if I can come in and say, listen, I'm not trying to give you a lecture about having a relationship or sex, but I just want you to see what I'm seeing every day. And here it is on a PowerPoint. Then that young person can make their own mind up, and that's absolutely fine, as long as they know the risks.
Yeah, that's it. And it's just about, like you say, letting them know the risks. And we all know that, you know, sort of especially college age that obviously I deal with on a daily basis. We know, we're all there. Everyone knows that at some point in life you are going to have sex or get involved in a relationship where you do have sex. And we're not saying don't do that, but it's about knowing that you've got, you know, what to do and, you know, where to go if you do think, oh, I've made a bad choice there, and, you know, I've been with a person that I'm not actually sure whether they've got anything. As long as we're giving you the right information and getting that message out there, then we're doing our job, and that's sort of up to you, because the thing is, everybody makes mistakes in their life, don't they? And we know that.
And there won't be the first young person in the set, and there won't be the last. And
no,
I'll pick the pieces up.
exactly.
But everybody gets there. Everybody gets, when it comes to losing your virginity, we all get there at different stages in our lives, and you've got to do what's right for you.
Yeah.
So some people are younger, some people are older, and that's absolutely fine. But all them nice things that come with having sex in a relationship should apply. You feel safe, you trust the person you're with, you've got protection and contraception.
Yeah.
And then go, you know, absolutely go for it if there's no other risks.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So obviously doing the job that you do and seeing what you see on a daily basis, is there anything that stands out in terms of sort of a trend in terms of sexual health within the East Riding, just to sort of give some stats or whatever to any of the young people that are listening? Because I know that everybody thinks it won't happen to me, but it just might be useful to get some trends sort of within their area, really.
So the trend definitely, which has been ongoing, is a young person will not get tested because they don't think they've got anything. And with chlamydia, there's no signs or symptoms. So unless you do get tested, you're not going to know until it's too late. So that's definitely a trend. You know, they're not going to wake up one morning and think, oh, I've got a bit of chlamydia today.
Yeah.
If they are sexually active in any way, they need to be doing this test. Another trend is people rushing to take the relationship to the next level, like I said earlier.
Yeah.
We've got a big problem with consent and lads getting caught out with that. You know, it's got to feel right for both of you. There can be no power imbalance. But all that said, we've still seen a massive increase in some of the STIs, which is really sad. Syphilis is on the increase. Now, syphilis, this is a Victorian STI that just won't go away.
Right,
Gonorrhea as well. And chlamydia is getting crafty. You know, if you've got it in one place and you wipe yourself, you're going to get it in the other, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
And lots of young people are diverting to oral sex because they think it's safer, but lots of them are getting it in the mouth as well.
Right, okay. So is in regards to sort of chlamydia, I know you said obviously there's not, is there sometimes some symptoms, or is there just always not any symptoms?
Some people have come with symptoms, and I think they're lucky if that's happening, because then we can get rid of it, and we've found it, and you know, it's no big deal. We can get rid of it. It's easy to treat. But it is the silent STI, and it does live in the body and pretends to be something else.
Right.
So, you know, you've got to know these things.
So something that I haven't sent you in a question, but just something that's just come to my mind now, is there sort of any symptoms that you could say to look out for in regards to, you know, thinking you've possibly got an STI or something's not right? Is there any sort of symptoms for young people to look out for?
Yeah, so the lads, it would burn and sting every time they went for a wee, or it would start to burn and sting. The girls, they sometimes think they've got a water infection because they're trying to wee all the time, but there's nothing there, or the periods are a little bit heavier, or the bleeding in between the periods. They're classic signs, yeah.
Okay, that was just, I just thought that'd be a good thing to add in for anyone that's listening, you know, because I know that, you know, some people just have no idea what's normal and what's not. So I guess just wanted to sort of get it in there. So I end every podcast with a top tip. So the person that I interview, I always ask them to give a top tip. So for you, I'd like you to give the top tip for any young person in terms of sex and relationships.
So my top tip would be, if you're absolutely ready for that kind of relationship, and that's brilliant, make sure you're on a good form of contraception. Make sure you're absolutely sure you want to be sleeping with the person you're sleeping with, and they're not making you do anything you don't want to do. Get on a good form of contraception and get regularly tested.
Lovely. Well, and obviously, like I said, just before we finish, I do want everybody that's listening, Toni-Ann does do tutorials, so if this is something that you think would be good sort of in your tutor group, or you think other people should hear about this, then please let me know and we can get that in your group. And also please do go into the drop-in sessions that are at both sites of the college. They're generally down in the foyer near my desk, so wherever I am, there's probably somebody there, or if they're not there and you want to see them, then let me know and I can get in touch with the ladies to come and speak to you sort of one-to-one. So just anybody that's listening that does want any advice, then we do share that with the learners. And there is a text service, isn't there?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Thank you for that. So we've got a brand new texting service. If somebody texts reach out to 61825, that comes directly through to us. And the only demographic we receive is the mobile number that's text us.
Okay.
Then that gives us the opportunity to ring that young person and speak one-to-one. It's completely confidential. And if they've texted and changed their mind, they can say, actually, I don't want you now, or oh, thank you for texting me. Can I have this, or can you help me with this, and this?
Yeah, no, that's fine. And what I'll do is I'll get on the end of the podcast, I'll get that image that I've got with the text number included on the podcast, so that anybody that is listening can get that at the end of the podcast, so that we can push that out there. So thank you very much.
Thank you.